Hello, everyone. Welcome to Yesshift. I'm Steven Schinder, and this is part of a sub series on the show called Steven's Vinyl Adventures. And previously on this particular sub series, I talked about the Emerson, Lake, and Palmer singles. And I was planning on talking about Caligula's Horse's Charcoal Grace next, but then something kind of came up. I ended up going to a Soft Machine show, and at the merch stand, they were selling a few records. So I ended up picking those up, and we'll be talking about those as well as the show itself. This was kind of a last minute decision. During my recent Lake Tahoe trip, a dad messaged me, showing me a post about the then upcoming Soft Machine shows. And I guess several of their shows on their current tour had been canceled, but I saw that they were playing at the Baked Potato for a couple nights, which were last night and now tonight, as I'm recording. So I went to see the first set. So the way that this was sort of laid out when I finally went online to buy the tickets is they have it so that you buy a ticket for the first set on the 21st, or the second set on the 21st. Like it's like two different options. I suppose one could buy for both if they wanted. I'm not sure if the second set is the same or different, but looking at Setlist FM, it looks like the setlist they had the previous show in San Diego looked pretty different. So I ended up getting a ticket for the first set for last night on the 21st. And I'm glad I went to the earlier showing because when I went to the merch stand after the show to get the records, it looks like they were running out of copies. So if I had gone just to I could only go to one set, and if I had gone to the 10 p.m. one, then I would have maybe missed out on one of these. So yeah, and tonight, the 22nd of June, they also have a first set and a second set. I think the first set was sold out when I called ahead of time to sort of get a feel of when I might be going. But yeah, I went to the Baked Potato, and apparently this venue was a big deal. I had not heard of it before, but Dad had heard of it. He told me a bit about it. He has not been, but he told me that it's pretty well known, and that it's smaller than my house. Even is what he said. And when I got there and got inside, I'm like, oh yeah, you might be right. This is kind of smaller than my house. And well, to back up, I guess I should talk a little bit about my history with Soft Machine. So I've been aware of Soft Machine since like maybe late 2000s, maybe around 2010. And it wasn't until 2010-ish. I may have listened to some of their early stuff around then. I think that might be possible. But I know for sure that last year I listened to their latest album, The Other Doors, which is actually one of the records I ended up picking up at this show. And I really enjoyed it. And it was sort of in the lead up to Dad interviewing their drummer, Azaf Circus. So, yeah, Dad interviewed him last November, and it was a fun interview. And he's really great at drumming. And some of his videos, it almost looks like a spiritual experience whenever he's drumming, closing his eyes and being really into it. So there's a bit of that at this Soft Machine show that I went to. And I think the way that I initially found out about Soft Machine back when I was a teenager was by the mere fact that Rick Wakeman's cousin, Alan Wakeman, was a band member at some point. So there's a little connection there. A Big Generator, the song, there's also the lyric, flying out the soft machine we offer. And for a while, I've been wondering if maybe that could be a reference to the band, but maybe not. Maybe it's just a coincidence. So the Baked Potato venue is somewhat small. People get seated. If you buy a ticket for just yourself as opposed to a group, you basically get seated next to a person you may not know at this table, and the cushioning is kind of like what you'd expect from a Denny's, that type of seat cushion thing. Um, and yeah, so it was a little bit of a tight fit, but not too tight of a fit. And the baked potatoes themselves, they have this menu of various styles of baked potatoes. You could have it like with a steak in it. Obviously, Bella Lugrisi on YouTube chiming in saying, "Hi, Stephen. Hi, nice to see you there. Thanks for tuning in. I'm talking about Soft Machine. I saw a show of theirs last night and picked up a few records. Um, let's see. The Soft Machine is a nickname for the human body. Oh, is it? Okay. Also says, and a terrific band. Yes. Okay. Yeah. And so I overheard a conversation between a couple people about Soft Machine. Like the lineup changes. One person there had seen them, or had been into them since he was maybe 13, possibly in the 70s. There was a woman who got into them when she was 10 in 1976, and she seemed really into the show. And the person sitting next to me, I think his name was Harvey, we talked a bit about the band and as well as other aspects of music. We talked a bit about Vangelis. He told me about Vangelis's band Aphrodite's Child, which I'll have to look into, and all sorts of interesting tidbits. So yeah, there's some great conversation before the show started. And this particular lineup is actually the lineup on this single that I picked up. So I don't know. Should I talk about the show first or the records first? I guess I might cut like back and forth. But let me share this around into a few different groups, though. So, like, overall, the show was great, and the atmosphere was very intimate. It was different from what I'm used to. And this is basically, Soft Machine is pretty jazzy, and this was like my second jazzy show of the month, having seen Jazz Sabbath earlier this month. So it's a bit of a jazzy June, but Soft Machine also feel like they have bits of prog. So like they're a mixture of things, rock, jazz, and it's really cool. Their music is it can get sort of moody in places, have a nice atmosphere, and sometimes spacey. And overall, it's just a really great vibe. It gets psychedelic. Like they're really cool, really great musicians. Yeah, just give me one sec. Okay. So the lineup of this show, like I mentioned, Azaf Circus is the drummer. You have John Etheridge on guitar. He joined in 1975. At some point during the show, he talked about the history of the band. There's a huge gap after the late 70s, barring some reunions. And then the band sort of reunited in the mid 2000s under the name Soft Machine Legacy. And for a while, they stayed with that name, but then in 2015 they reverted back to Soft Machine. Theo Travis is a saxophonist, and Fred Baker was a bassist in this particular lineup. And all four of them are on this single that I picked up. Again, I picked these up from the from the stand after the show. I gotta get used to that. Yeah, I was thrown off because the title is one way and the like opening of the sleeve is another way. So this single has the A side is The Dew at Dawn, and the B side is Slightly, Slightly All the Time. And it's very easy listening. It's very relaxing stuff, this single. And as you can see, I got the members of this lineup to sign it. And even they were a little confused of like which way is up and like how they should like go about it. I'll show you the backside as well. Yeah, it's got that greenish color. I like how on these sleeves, or at least a couple of these, I think. So on the single, they specify the exact date that they recorded this single. So it says, so produced by Theo Travis and John Etheridge, recorded by James Johnston at Cowshed Studio, London, 19th of July, 2023. And mixed by James Johnston at Cowshed Studio, London, 14th of August, 2023. And I'll go ahead and show the record itself. I mean, you got a peek of it when it almost fell out. Oh, and it also came in this white sleeve or case thing. I don't know what this is called, but it's a bit difficult for me to figure out how to get the sleeve back in there. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. But yeah, here you have side A of the single. And you have side B. I know the webcam is looking a little fuzzy. And yeah, toward the middle, you have what looks like a barcode. So I guess that's not exclusive to the ELP singles I talked about the other day. I'm learning about this stuff as I go along with this new hobby. It's kind of convenient starting this morning I was listening to these records, and I started with this single, which is convenient because my record player was already set to 45 because I talked about the Emerson, Lake and Palmer singles the other day. Those are the last things that I played on here. Actually, yeah, I remember now. The record goes in here and this goes in the sleeve. Yeah. Can't remember if I took it out last night or this morning, but I definitely played it this morning. So yeah, and it's a nice fit. I don't know why I thought it was the other way around just now. Bella asks, did you get yourself a turntable yet? Yes, actually. I got it, I think, earlier this month. Also says, maybe I'm thinking of someone else who was looking to buy a deck. Okay, yeah, maybe. But yeah, I got a record player. It also comes with Bluetooth in it, so that's kind of fun. I finally got it earlier this month and have been making my way through the vinyl records I have. And recently at these shows, I've just gotten more. So it's like I should listen to those on here as well and talk about them. Yeah, it is awesome. So yeah, this lineup was very energetic at the show. And this actually was not this was their first time playing at the Baked Potato in 5 years, I believe. They made a big deal about that. And, when they were talking about, John was saying, some of our shows were canceled, but we knew we had to play at the Baked Potato again. And here we are, that something along those lines. And they actually have a live album called Soft Machine Live at the Baked Potato. It's got a photo of the streets here. You got the signs that say hamburgers, and yeah, I got them to sign that as well. Sorry, I gotta remember to be careful. Um, yeah, it's a nice photo, and the look of the photo is like, what year is this photo from? It kind of looks like it's from a while ago. This came out, yeah, 2019. Just yeah, that's what I thought. They also have nice pictures of the band members at the playing at the Baked Potato. Let me move this around. Yeah, and it's very much how it looked when I went there last night. So 5 years, but not too much of a difference in appearance. And it was a slightly different lineup at that time because he still had John Etheridge on electric guitar and Theo Travis, saxophones, flute, Fender Rhodes piano. But on bass, he had Roy Babington, and on drums, he had John Marshall, who sadly passed away last year in September. Um, and he was on the most recent studio album, I believe. I'll have to look at the credits to double check that. So I got signatures on each of these, even though the lineups aren't all the same. But I feel like that's fine because I got all of these at the show. It's kind of a like mementos of the show, so I don't mind having them sign these, as a memory of the moment of being there. It did kind of remind me, though. I remember 6 years ago on the Yes 50th anniversary tour, Tony Kaye was guesting as the keyboardist on that tour, the additional keyboardist along with Jeff Downs. And he signed stuff that he was not on, like Relayer and I think Fly From Here, maybe Heaven and Earth. I'd have to look at them again. And Dad told me later that Tony has the right to, because he was there in the band originally. And so, yeah, okay. I mean, either way, it's really cool having these things signed. Yeah, so this was recorded at the Baked Potato on February 1st, 2019. And this was part of the Soft Machine 50th anniversary tour. Yeah, during that year, I was not seeing as many bands as I have these last couple years. Like, I certainly listened to a bunch of bands, but at that time, I was kind of really selective, mainly focusing on Yes and related stuff. And occasionally, there was the odd Chromatics show, the one Chromatics show that I went to. So I'll go ahead and show the records in this one. I should probably read the track list first. So on side A, you have Out Bloody Intro, Out Bloody Rages, Part 1, Sideburn, Hazard Profile, Part 1, Kings and Queens, and on side B, you have The Tale of Taliesin, Heart Off Guard, Broken Hill, 14-Hour Dream, and on side C, you have The Man Who Waved at Trains, Life on Bridges, and Hidden Details. And a few of those were at this show that I went to. I'll get to that later. But yeah, I'll go ahead and show you the records. Yeah, they come in these black sleeves. I know that this thing with the art is called a sleeve. What are the ones on the inside called? What's the terminology? Anyone know? All right, so you have side A and side B, and they both have the bit of the picture of the artwork on there. And for this one, this was my first time looking, or I guess playing rather, a record where only one of the sides was playable. So there's side C, and then on the back, you just have that reflective surface. It's not playable. I mean, I'm not going to try putting a needle on it, see what happens. It's just, there's nothing on that side, so it's just for show. I kind of wonder if maybe, I don't know, some sort of bonus tracks could have been thrown on there. I don't know what. Um, okay, Bella says they're called dust sleeves. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And again, I'm turning 30 later this year, and it's only just recently I've been getting into this vinyl playing hobby. So I'll put these back into the normal sleeve. I gotta turn these around. Bella says, I use a new one for every record I clean. Okay. Yeah. And the third record that I have here, also the final one I'm featuring, and I'll talk about the show as well. And I listened to all of these today. I was hoping to come on here, do this live broadcast in the morning, but I needed more time to get through these, and there's other stuff going on in between. So this one I'd already listened to on, I believe it was their Bandcamp, their most recent album, Other Doors. And look at that cover image. And again, the webcam doesn't quite do it justice, but someone at the show looked at it, and I mentioned that it was from last year, and they're like, it doesn't look like it's from last year. And yeah, it does have that very classic feel to it, that sort of psychedelic style. So the track list on here, on side A, you have Careless Eyes, Penny Hitch, Other Doors, Crooked Usage. On side B, you've got Joy of a Toy, A Flock of Holes, Whisper Back, The Stars Apart, Now is the Time, Fell to Earth. And on side C, you have Backwards / Noisette, The Visitor at the Window, Maybe Never, Back in Season. And on side D, you have Alice Clark, Out of Interest, On This Day, Look You Now, Look You Know, When Frost Melts, and Fell to Earth. Yeah, and the experiences of listening to these was very relaxing. The track Maybe Never feels like it's on a UFO, and there are bits here that reminded me of the psychedelia of Pink Floyd, and there was a mention of Pink Floyd at the show, which I'll get to. And these are all instrumental, like all the tracks on these particular records. For the Live at the Baked Potato record, I think because it's in such a small space, the Baked Potato venue, and everyone is being silent during the performances, as was the case last night. On this live album, Live at the Baked Potato, for the most part, it sounds like it could be a studio album, but then at the end of each track, you hear the applause, and you're kind of reminded, oh yeah, this is a live album. If it was in a stadium, arena type place, it would feel a bit more obvious, and maybe you'd hear whistling here and there, that type of thing. But yeah, for the Other Doors, I'll go ahead and show you the records for that. And these also come in these black dust sleeves. These do not have booklets, something that I noticed. So this is side A and side B. And I know that not every, what's it called? Not every album is going to have a booklet, but I do like having the story of the band, or at the very least, the story of the album. So that would have been kind of nice to have in these. But on the other hand, I do see the value in letting the music speak for itself. Maybe there are some musicians or bands who feel that um, they don't want to bog you down with all the backstory and tell you how the thing is made and just want you to get straight to the music. So I can totally understand that. And here's side C and side D. I like that each of these have a different color scheme for the circle in the middle. And, after listening to all of these, I definitely need to go back through the Soft Machine discography because I was really impressed with this show. I got the set list on my phone, so I'll go ahead and go through that in just a moment. Just putting this back in its sleeve. It's okay. Yeah, I like to think I'm getting better at this. Okay. All right. So the show was I would say maybe an hour and 15 minutes long, the first set, the one that I saw. And so the baked potato that I got for dinner, it was a hot dog and sauerkraut one. But it was decent, but it felt really hot at first. So, and being impatient as I am, I was like, oh, I want this to cool off already. And so it was a bit of a struggle for a bit. It came with a little thing of ketchup, a little thing of mustard, and a little thing of sour cream. And yeah, I don't know. It was fine. I dug through it and ate it. I think I enjoyed it more once I got to the bits at the bottom, with the skin and whatnot. I got a bit of red wine and an apple orchard or orchard. I don't remember the pronunciation. And I also had a glass of water. Normally at concerts, I don't like to get an alcoholic beverage because I want to be fully immersed in the music. But because of the salad, the potato, and the water, it all balanced out. Similarly to when I went to eat at the Catalina Jazz Club during the Jazz Sabbath show. So yeah, I guess the food it was fine. I would go back and maybe try something different. I think the show was definitely worth it, and seeing it. But be prepared for the cushioning. If you're it could be a bit difficult sitting on that type of cushion, like you would have at a Denny's or whatever for a while. So I don't know if you'd want to bring maybe your own little pillow from home for more comfort or what. But the show was excellent. So they started with Penny Hitch, and then that was followed by Other Doors. And at some point during that piece, John, he had this stand in front of him that had all his gizmos and gadgets and stuff, and it almost fell, but he was able to save it. It was it was a very unique moment of the show. Then and again they would say what the titles of the pieces were, whether it be after playing a couple of them or before playing a couple of them. And I really appreciated that. It was similar to the Jazz Sabbath show. I don't know, is this more of like a jazz club thing? People do that? Because at rock concerts, it's kind of like, okay, you either know the song or you don't. We're not going to hold your hand. Just figure it out on your own later, type thing. If you're unfamiliar. But yeah, I really appreciated that. So the next one was The Visitor at the Window, and they mentioned that they rehearsed it that afternoon, and it took ages. And then Tales of Taliesin, and then followed by Heart of Gold and Broken Hill. And then John Etheridge talked a bit about, rain in England, how they are equipped for rain and other people maybe not so much. He did an impression of someone named Stephen Lapelli, and his reaction to rain. It was a thing. Then they played 14-Hour Dream, and after that, I think that's when they talked a little bit about John mentioned that the way that Soft Machine started was a little bit like how Pink Floyd started. I got to see a comment here. Okay, Zavo says, hello from Paris, France. Just discovered your channel. Yes, fan since 1971, and got pretty interesting stories and meetings with John Anderson. To be short, best Zavo. Okay, thanks for tuning in there. Let's see. Where was I? John Etheridge said they kind of started similarly to Pink Floyd, and then Theo, is on saxophone and piano. He says, "Whatever happened to Pink Floyd?" And there's a bit of laughter because, yeah, and I think it was also around this point when John Etheridge was talking about one of the pieces that they were going to play, which was from the album Third, from the early 70s. And that would have been before John joined. He joined in 75. And he's like, I feel like we have to refer to them as they instead of a we, because we weren't in that lineup. And if we said we, it would sound pretentious. I don't know, Soft Machine, Soft Machine, the entity. And John Etheridge has a nice sense of humor, and it was really fun to hear him talk throughout the show. So after that, they played Out Bloody Rageous, and then they told the story of the band with all the lineup changes. Maybe that's where I mentioned the whole they and us thing. But yeah, I mentioned the history that I told you about earlier. 70s, John joins in 75. There's a long gap, and then reforming with Theo Travis and co as Soft Machine Legacy, and then reverting back to the Soft Machine name a decade after that. So then they played Joy of the Toy, and then the Relegation of Pluto. The last four pieces were pretty much in quick succession back to back. It was the Relegation of Pluto, Terabos, and I think Middleburn. I think that's what you said. It definitely had burn in the title from what I remember, and then ending with Hidden Details. There's also a moment during the show, I can't remember which piece it was, where John was facing Asaf. You had guitarist and drummer basically playing in unison and facing each other, and it was a really cool moment. And at some point during these final four pieces, Asaf did a really cool drum solo, and the electric guitar. John, he's really able to play it really incredibly. That sound, it's just so good. But yeah, everyone was playing really well at this show, and there was one point where they mentioned, sometimes there are old bands at conferences and you can tell that they don't really like each other all that much. And someone mentioned the Rolling Stones, and John said, "Have you read Keith Richards' biography?" He said that, and I haven't read the autobiography, so I don't know the exact context, but it was like Keith said, "He's not my friend, but he's my brother." I think that was in reference to Mick Jagger. So yeah, it was really funny. There's really good humor and good showmanship throughout this show. And so after the set, I went to the merge table. I said hi to Azaf and reminded him about the Drum Talk TV interview that he did with Dad. I mentioned that Dad is currently in Vegas for the weekend, but yeah, he sent his regards, and everyone was really nice, taking the time to sign these records. And I made sure to let them know that I thought that they played incredibly, and other people were telling them as well. And yeah, a really great mood all around. And so when I was heading out, I had these records. When the plastic things around the records are really tough for me to open in a quick fashion. Like I was like really struggling when I needed to open them to get them signed. But yeah, I got all of them signed by all 4 members. But yeah, as I was leaving the Baked Potato, someone who was coming in for the second set saw me, carrying all of these and was like, "Yeah." And I just love that, how, people who won't know each other will react with enthusiasm if they see they're into the same music. And this person is probably far more familiar with Soft Machine than I am. But, I really enjoy this music, and I'm invested now. I want to dig further back and, go through the history and see the changes and whatnot. And yeah, I'm really glad I made it out to this show. I kind of wish I'd been a fan of the band for maybe a few years longer, several years longer, but hey, better late than never. So yeah, that was a great show at the Baked Potato. Really glad I got all of these records. I'm not sure what the next concert I'll go to will be. I know I'm gonna try to see John Anderson and the Band Geeks in August. I don't know if there's anything before that. But yeah, as for the vinyl adventures thing, the next one will be that Charcoal Grace album by Caligula's Horse that I mentioned. It might take a week or so. There are a couple other things going on Yesshift. For example, we're interviewing Harry Whitley and John Mitchell of the new Asia lineup for the Heat of the Moment tour happening in July. So we're interviewing them June 25th at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, 5 p.m. UK time. And yeah, also tune into Drum Talk TV, where Dad interviews drummers and such. He's going to interview Evelyn Glennie and Leslie Mandoki, both on the 26th at 9 a.m. and noon Pacific, respectively. So yeah, thanks for. Oh, and we're also doing a Patrick Moraz birthday episode on Yesshift on the 24th at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. We're going to talk about the Refugee album that Patrick was on before joining Yes. So that should be fun because I'm not as familiar with that material. So it'll be cool to give that a listen for that episode. All right, so thanks for tuning in. You can follow us at Yesshift on Facebook, YouTube, and type Yesshift in a podcast app. You'll hopefully find us. And you can write to us at yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com. And with any feedback, comments, whatever. And thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time.